What's going on, guys? Welcome to Everything Always. My name's Michael Roman, aka Allfires. Now, we've had about 48 hours for all of the details and minutiae to wash over us from the Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness trailer, and really bravo to the entire internet. One of the things I'm not hearing discussed, though, is of super interest to me. What in the world this multiversal Illuminati is doing there in the first place? And while I think their story may be very similar to the comic in some aspects, this is definitely on a much different scale than the team was originally intended for. And as Marvel so often likes to do, they may be taking part from another different team that included members like Adam Warlock and interpolating them into what this multiversal Illuminati is actually here for in the first place. We're going to break that down in what I think is the very obvious reason for why we're seeing this now in the MCU and how it actually more directly connects to the What If series than anything else we've seen, and really anything Doctor Strange did himself to make this happen. He is not the reason the Multiverse Council exists, even though the trailers have implied that. We will talk about his role in all of this in a much different video, but for now we're going to explore Infinity Ultron, what we saw in What If, and why the Illuminati is presented us in this fashion and not the original comic form. We're breaking it all down, Illuminati in the MCU, but first, if you could grab the subscribe button. We're still giving away a PlayStation 5, and we're doing it at every 20,000 subscribers all the way up to 1 million as a major thank you to the community. We're almost to the next giveaway. It should be literally any day or week now. If you want to be entered to win, hit the subscribe button, leave a comment down below. If you want, stick around to the end of the video. We'll get into all the giveaway stuff again there. So I think that this is going to be super important for understanding how the multiverse goes working forward, and it's logical to assume one thing, in that the multiverse has to assume some sort of time sync across it. Now, when we saw the multiverse before it broke apart in Loki, it looked like they were all sort of running at the same time, and yeah, time across multiverses shouldn't be something that's synced, but you can't have them interacting in any meaningful way if you keep saying everything is outside of time and space, because then they can just intersect the timeline whenever they want. The story dissolves into nothing. And hey, this isn't the first time Marvel is sort of bending physics. They showed us in Loki that they wanted to hold on to preservation of matter, Goliath being the way to clean up all the things they couldn't displace. But when you had Tony Stark lost in deep space during Avengers Endgame, as Interstellar so eloquently or confusingly told us, people in deep space don't age at the same rate as people on Earth because of the way that time and space are connected. But hey, that doesn't make for great storytelling. So in this case, we're going to have to assume that when we're talking interdimensionally, things do all sort of sync up time-wise. That way we can directly point to what happened with Infinity Ultron during What If. Given the Watcher's shock and dialogue during that What If series, this seems to have been the first time this has ever happened, at least that Watcher is aware of. Infinity Ultron, as he probably shouldn't be called, but so affectionately is called at this point, and I'm going to keep calling them that, able to break through the multiverse. And if it's the first time the Watcher's seen it, there's a chance it's the first time it's ever happened. And if it's the first time it's ever happened, then it may have been the impetus for why we now have a multiversal Illuminati Council. Now, this would actually line up perfectly with what we've seen out of the MCU in the last year, and let me explain. In the comics, and when we're first introduced to the Illuminati, they're much more one-dimensional, and in fact, just Earth-based. It's Tony Stark getting all the heads of the superhero teams together in order to better counterstrike and coordinate in the wake of the Kree-Skrull War. Now, drawing directly from that, and given what we just saw in Marvel Studios' What If last year, Infinity Ultron would have interfered with a ton of different universes across the multiverse. And you have to imagine, if these are truly the superior Iron Man Ultron sentries, he would have been one of the best universes equipped to deal with this invasion of Infinity Ultron, leading that version of Tony Stark to do the exact same thing that the Tony Stark in the comics did, and start an Illuminati, except this time it's with all the strongest representatives across the multiverse, just not his universe. Quick side note, superior Iron Man wouldn't need an Illuminati on his own universe. He would have been way past that at this point. But if you think about that Easter egg seated in Iron Man 2 when we got a glimpse of Tony Stark's phone, we saw that Illuminati icon. It could be that Marvel Studios was implying all of the Tony Stark variants have designs on making an Illuminati team. Some of them just take way different shape than the ones that are, well, more terrestrial. And in this case, if Infinity Ultron truly is the impetus for this, then the Watcher would have been involved with this council. The Watcher's mantra is that you never interfere. This is why we would have never seen the multiversal Illuminati before this, because unless you break that multiversal dimension, they don't interfere. Technically, whatever Wanda did in manifesting the Hex, That wasn't breaking through the interdimensional walls the way we saw Doctor Strange do in Spider-Man No Way Home, the same way we saw in What If. Even the Avengers' time travel and or messing with the Infinity Stones still kept them within their dimension on the same timeline. Again, they're not going to interfere. We shouldn't have seen them before now, but in the same way Loki became a variant and got stopped by the TVA, we now have Doctor Strange breaking the multiverse and getting stopped by an even bigger version of the TVA in this multiversal Illuminati. Now listen, that's a completely different video talking about Kang and the TVA's relationship to them, and we're going to get into that very shortly, probably this weekend or next week. But I wanted to point out, as I mentioned in the prologue, a team called Infinity Watch that was set up in the comics with much different members, a much different team, but to watch over the Infinity Stones, each member getting given one of those stones. If this is true about Infinity Ultron being the reason that they set this Illuminati up, they may have given members some Infinity Stones, which would lead to Tony Stark having the stones, which would explain why we see what looks like his quantum force in this trailer, if that's him and not Maria Rambeau, who I personally think it is. But also, it would keep Tony Stark's variant on a crash course for Infinity Stones. Earth-based, and no reason he should come into them, but our Tony Stark did, and in this case, this superior Iron Man would have come into them as well. Perhaps it's always Tony Stark's destiny or his variant's luck to always come into these Infinity Stones, and is actually tied to his storyline no matter what. And when you think about it from that standpoint, it sort of seems like Marvel has already confirmed that. During the Loki series, we saw that Loki shared a lot in common. Some of their core characteristics, while there were variants and outliers, most seem to be all right in the middle, and this isn't too far off what some quantum physicists think about the multiverse of views out there. I once read, and I can't remember who said this, if you know it in the comments, leave it, but don't worry about the multiverse of you out there. Maybe one of them is living your best life, because on a bell curve, you probably got the life that most of you are living. In this case, it's the same way. Most Lokis are going to be the same. Most Iron Men are going to be narcissists. They're going to be self-centered. And maybe, again, most of them are going to come into contact with Infinity Stones. It's just what they choose to do with them that defines their character. I love that this is making so much sense, and that Marvel Studios, not me, but that Marvel Studios is making the multiverse of madness and all this crazy stuff that shouldn't make sense actually fit together. And obviously, there are still a ton of explainers left to come, but if you're worried about continuity from project to project, let me put your mind at ease. Michael Waldron, who wrote the Loki series, also wrote the screenplay for well, he co-wrote this, obviously, with other writers, but also wrote for Multiverse of Madness. So the same mind who put the multiverse into play for Loki worked on this film as well. It's the same guy. So there's no really consulting that needs to be done. He knows the through line for how he wants to address this in the storyline. That's why it's surprisingly cogent for something, again, that shouldn't make any sense. Guys, let me know all your thoughts down in the comments about this theory. And quickly, let's jump into the giveaway stuff before I let you go. All right, we're still giving away PlayStation 5s at the channel all the way up to 1 million subscribers. The next one's at 940, and we're almost there. If you want to be entered to win or for any of the other giveaways we do with the channel, all you have to do, all the same rules apply. Hit the sub button, leave a comment down below. Truly random, so the more videos you comment on, the better chance you have of winning. All winners will be announced in videos. The best way to keep up with the content's always been to hit that notification bell with all notifications turned on. As always, I love you guys. Be safe out there. We have so many more videos to come on Doctor Strange. So much to unpack. This is a really awesome time to be a Marvel fan. I can't be more thankful to be doing it with you guys. All right, see you in the next one.